We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by Line Movement. If you're listening to this on the podcast feed later, wondering where this video was this week, maybe you are live in chat right now, but if not, I'm here to remind you that this is the one segment per week that will live exclusively on the Line Movement YouTube channel. So if you're already here, welcome. Do us a favor, toss a like on this video, consider subscribing, all of that good stuff. You're doing all these things for us, but we're just going to try and continue to do things for you, bring on some of the best guests in the entire industry, both on my show and at Line Movement. Of course, this is a very special Locks of the Week episode because I don't know if James has ever been on my show before, but one of those people, of course, is our Director of Analytics and Esports at linemovement.com. Be sure and follow him on Twitter. He's at paydirt_DFS. James McCool, welcome to the program, my friend.
What's up, dude? I'm happy to be on it. I was pretty stoked you asked me to come on for this last week of the NFL season.
Yeah, man, this is a week that is a difficult one, to say the least. We're going to be sifting through a lot of news, but there are some situations where we can just know with a lot of certainty that these teams have a lot to play for. So that's what we're going to focus on today. There's a lot that can kind of progress throughout the week, so be sure and come check out the show, my show at 9 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday, and then the Line Movement show is at 11. A lot of this stuff, hopefully, we'll have a little bit more clarity on by Sunday, but it is time to get into our locks of the week. We're going to start at the quarterback position. Lamar Jackson, he's 8K, and he is your quarterback lock of the week. Tell us why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying really hard to focus on players that actually need to do something this week because week 17 is so much about actually focusing on the teams that have something to play for and really need to win, so they play their starters the entire time. There's going to be a lot of people that play somebody like Josh Allen, even though Josh Allen might sit. There's going to be a lot of people that play I don't know. It's some other high-end quarterbacks that don't really have a lot of upside because they might not have to play. But Baltimore's in a situation here where they can't win their division, but they can clinch a playoff spot by beating Cincinnati. And so they have a lot of reason to play through this game. Likewise, Cincinnati has won 2 games in a row. They're feeling hot. They're probably going to come out swinging. So I think Lamar Jackson in this spot just makes a lot of sense. The stats back it up. He, in my models, has the highest chance to be the top overall scoring quarterback on the week. 20% chance to be the top overall QB1. So I just think that when you look at what Lamar Jackson has been doing and you look at what needs to happen in this game and the overall expectations for week 17, he just makes the most sense.
I'm with you. I mean, just looking even at the rushing production over the last 4 weeks, he's got 3 of 4 weeks over 80 yards on the ground. He's got 4 touchdowns over the last 4 weeks. So at least getting that going, but he's also been throwing for multiple touchdowns more often than not. So he's looked, I don't know if he's looked quite like the old Lamar, but as close as to the old Lamar that we've seen so far this year. So I'm with you on that. James, I forgot to even tee you up, man. Tell the people about your website because you mentioned your model. I want to make sure that people know where to find it.
Yeah. I have my own proprietary models over at paydirt.ghost.io. I include all sports in my package, so it's just $30 a month, and you get every single sport under the sun, esports, regular sports, all that kind of stuff. But my models utilize, instead of just doing the typical industry standard of projections, I utilize a range of outcome system. So instead of just looking at, here's a median projection of like 19 fantasy points for player X, I break down how often they are a top finisher at their position, how often they are a top 5, how often they have 20 or more fantasy points. It's just like a much more applicable way to build out models, I think. So that's what I focus on for every sport over there.
Yeah, I think going about it with the range of outcomes is actually one of the best ways to do it because there's people that are literally just staring at whatever lineup builder they're using and they're just like, I'll pick this guy. He's projected for 0.3 more points. But what people don't realize is there's a lot of not necessarily guesswork, but like that goes into that median projection. There's some that are a lot more fragile than others. There's guys that have much higher ceilings, low floors, higher floor type of players. So I'm with you, man. I always say that I could probably teach someone how to be a profitable DFS player just by using ceiling projections and ownership projections. So I know you're in on that. This next guy is someone that I guess you famously on Line Movement told everyone to fade in one of like the biggest smash spots of the entire year, and then he didn't get there. So Derrick Henry's 9,400. This time you do like him, it sounds like, and he's your running back lock of the week. Tell us why.
Yeah, I mean, he's only behind Alvin Kamara in projection. I have him projected for like 28 fantasy points. And one of the reasons why I like him so much is because Tennessee really does need to win this game. And I think that when you look at the rushing production that he has had, he has been inefficient. Like this year has not been a Derrick Henry smash year. He has been very, very good, but it's been based on volume. So the main reason why you have to care about Derrick Henry is when they're in a position to actually win the game and when it's going to be a competitive game, not in a game where they're going to get kind of beat up a little bit. That there's always going to be reason to play the Tennessee passing game if Derrick Henry is going to end up being really, really popular. But this week, I don't think that he will be very popular. I don't have my full ownership aggregates yet, but at $9,400 and priced right next to Alvin Kamara, who I am sure that most of the industry will have projected over Derrick Henry. The ownership, I think, will just kind of go that way. I don't know that people are going to be paying all the way up for Derrick Henry when there are other quarter or running backs that are cheaper and in spots that make sense. But Derrick Henry, averaging somewhere around 0.9 fantasy points per touch. He has 200 rushing yard upside, one of the only running backs in the league that has that upside. When he starts going, he snowballs through a lead. So 9,400, he's 22% to be the top overall running back on the slate, just behind Alvin Kamara. So with Tennessee needing to win this game, I think it'll be competitive, and I think that he'll be in a spot to really pay off that price.
Yeah, I actually went into detail about this game with Rich Rebar over on my channel, so I'll link that one right here later on today. I think that this is an interesting game from a Vegas perspective, like far and away the highest over-under on the slate, so I think that's one that we're definitely going to be focused on for DFS. I guess the one thing that's kind of interesting as well is that the sharps seem to be on the over in that game, 74% of the money, only 50% of the tickets currently, so I'm looking at that early in the week for that sort of thing. But this next guy that we're going to talk about has been someone that historically has not been great for me because I rarely pay all the way up for wide receivers when we just have some of the elite volume at running back on most of these slates. But Green Bay, they're in a must-win situation. They could clinch the number 1 seed. The Bears can upset the Packers on Sunday. They're in the playoffs, so both sides of this game, it's going to be very competitive. But Davante Adams, he's 9,200. So two-part question for you. Can he, I guess, sustain this crazy touchdown rate that he's been on? And also, like, I guess, what's your general strategy on these, like, super expensive wide receivers? I struggle with those personally.
Yeah, you just think about like Antonio Brown when he was with the Steelers, he reached almost 11K. I mean, and he was automatic most weeks. He was getting anywhere between 11 and 14 targets per game, and kind of having a season like Davante Adams is having. And in fact, Davante Adams, I'm pretty sure, is having the best fantasy season of any wide receiver in fantasy history, beating out Antonio Brown in that year where everybody was playing even when he was that expensive. He has a touchdown in every single game that he has played except for one. He has 10 or more targets in all except for 3 games or something like that. He is as automatic as it comes when it comes to wide receiver, kind of like Michael Thomas was last year. But the main reason why I want to play him is that Aaron Rodgers is eligible for the MVP, right? And they've been just feeding him. One of the reasons why Davante Adams has this massive touchdown rate is because Aaron Rodgers just feeds him in the end zone and in the red zone, and they are trying to get Aaron Rodgers that MVP award. This is a must-win game against a rival that goes back, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever. It's a really important game to them. It's a really important game to Aaron Rodgers. He's going to utilize his top weapon, especially considering if they don't win this game, they don't lock up that number 1 seed. And that's really, really vital, I think, for the Packers for their playoff hopes. So when you look at all that, yeah, it sucks to have to pay up this far, and you're going to have to make some adjustments to be able to fit him. But I can't think of a player that I would have better expectations for heading into this game.
Yeah, normally I would say that it's unsustainable, this touchdown rate right now, but you look at it and you said it, like he's going for the MVP. So like I have a hard time believing they're just going to run in 3 touchdowns in this game. He's going to continue to throw to Davante Adams around the goal line, and people just can't stop him down there. They've proved that time and time again. So at the tight end position, your lock of the week, Michael Gesicki, he's 4,200. Again, the Dolphins are in a must-win to clinch playoff berth situation. The Dolphins, I mean, they did beat the Bills on Sunday, so they could get in as a wild card, which is pretty crazy overall. But tell us why Gesicki at 4,200 kind of caught your eye.
This is the hardest position to put a lock into because most weeks in NFL DFS, I just kind of want to correlate the tight end with either my main correlation with my quarterback or with my secondary correlation. It's just been such a crapshoot this year that when you look at what tight ends have been doing, even the best tight ends outside of Travis Kelce have been relative letdowns compared to years past. But Mike Gesicki in this spot, you mentioned it, that Miami is in this must-win situation. They're basically playing in, right? There are ways where there can be some wild stuff that happens where they could still get in, but they really, really want to win this game. And Mike Gesicki over the last 4 weeks has been either the top or the second most targets on the team for Miami when he has played. He had 7 last week, 6 in week 14, 10 in week 13, and then 5 in week 12, back when Devontae Parker had 13 targets. So Mike Gesicki is a really, really important part of them. He's also the top performer for them overall in fantasy points per touch. So when you have the player on the team that is getting, the most or the second most targets, and he's the best producer when he's getting those targets, I think that it's just really important to focus on him. You're not getting much of a price discount, but I think that it's pretty vital to just focus on these players in these must-win situations for these teams that actually care to use their players in the best capacity.
Yeah, you mentioned Mike Gesicki. Over the last 3 weeks, he's leading this team in weighted opportunity rating. He's leading this team in basically every volume-related category there is. So I'm totally with you on that. He just seems too cheap in this spot to me. So I think that he's a really solid bet. I think this last position, kind of like tight end, normally I'm just trying to grab lower ownership, grab pressure, that sort of thing. This Dallas and Giants game is super interesting because if Washington beats the Eagles on Sunday night, they win the NFC East and it doesn't matter. But if they lose, the winner of this game between the Giants and Cowboys will be the NFC East champ, despite the horrific record of some of these NFC teams. So tell us why you at least like the Dallas side a little bit more than the Giants side on the defensive side.
Yeah, this NFC East, man, it's so gross over there. And I just can't imagine that these teams are actually going to go into the playoffs and have to face some sort of powerhouse. I mean, it's just so gross. The team that actually they are most likely to face is going to be Tampa Bay, right? Where Tampa Bay is going to get to face out of the 5th seed, the winner of the NFC East, and Tom Brady just gets to tee off on somebody. But the Cowboys, the Giants have the largest sack per attempt rate on the slate this week. Over the season, they are having a sack on 9.76% of their total attempts, and the team total of 21 is relatively low. So the Cowboys at 2,900, there are other defenses that rate better. Like the Ravens rate better, but they're 4,200. The Patriots rate better, but the Jets have actually been winning games because Adam Gase is a train wreck. So the Cowboys at only 2,900, I think, make the most sense considering how many sacks the Giants are allowing and the lower team total and the must-win game. Everything just kind of points to them being the one that I would want to use in DFS the most. I don't necessarily think that they are the top overall cream of the crop option. Like if you can afford the Ravens, you should probably play the Ravens. Mm-hmm. But if you can't, there's enough of a relative discount to take the Cowboys, and I think feel pretty good about the upside they represent.
Yeah, James, while we have you here, I probably should mention, and I know I've been mentioning this all year for the people in chat, but James is he's been a huge part of building this NFL data table at linemovement.com. So if anyone hasn't checked that out yet, if you go to NFL, or if you go to the NFL tab and then go over to the resources spot, NFL data table, this is where we kind of brought together a bunch of different metrics, but James has had an integral part of kind of getting us some custom stuff in here as well. So James, I guess there's tons of stuff we could go through on this, but the one that always catches my eye is the leverage metric that you built for us that's based a little bit on ownership and ceiling. You want to talk about that a little bit before we get out of here?
Yeah, so it basically tries to take a look at what the ceiling projection for a player is going to be, which is the standard deviation above their median, and then take into effect how much ownership they actually have and then put together a normalized rate for them. So a player that has maybe a high ceiling and is going to have high ownership, they aren't going to rate near as well as a player that has high ceiling and low ownership. And it's just something where I think that most of the industry at this point has projections. Most of the industry at this point has ownership. But I think that where you can find the best edge in DFS at this point is leveraging people that aren't paying attention to ownership and projections put together. On top of that, most people don't even know how to put together a standard deviation metric for a ceiling. So it's a really, really cool thing. And I was happy to build it and happy to put it out there as like a free tool, because I think that's something that can improve anybody's game, is being able to focus on the theory behind playing players that people are ignoring for whatever reason, or just are in a blind spot, period.
Mhm. Yeah, I think people don't realize that if you are behind and you're looking at late swap situations, you need ceiling as well. You don't just need that 1% guy. So this is kind of the best of both worlds with that. That's where I'm building my lineups and looking through late swap situations. So James McCool, everyone, make sure you follow him on Twitter. He's at paydirt_DFS. James, I want you to plug your website one last time, and I know you got some Twitch stuff going on too. So let's get all the plugs in, my man.
All right. Yeah. So my site is paydirt.ghost.io. Really, really cool stuff over there. I have a lot of new tools put together for League of Legends specifically that starts in 2 weeks. And my baseball tools are always fun to build. I do have some free stuff over there as well if you're not a subscriber. So the opportunity search tool, if you go to the NFL page in the navigation up top, the opportunity search tool and the air yard search tool are both free and really, really cool things there. So go there. You can go find me on Twitch at multichem_PD. I do shows for NBA. I'm going to start doing shows on Fridays, nice. As well as doing stuff for, whatever other sports are going on. So I'm always grinding on something, always building on something. And any support that I get for that is really cool. I just like being able to help people. So help me help you.
Awesome, man. Busy guy. I appreciate you carving out a little bit more time out of your week to get through these locks of the week. We'll do it again soon, man. Appreciate you.
For sure, man. Have a good one.